photo. I can't really tell.
Compliments to your haircut.
Compliments to my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Oh,
Just cut
great.
it.
Wow, great. Hmm.
So we have a kind of an interesting, slightly different topic today. And I have a few notes, but I'm not really coming off of notes for this. I'm coming from, let's say, insight, knowingness, and experience. The key to most questions, honest to God, it's the key to most questions about reconnective healing, about the reconnective healing experience, is, hold on, I'm getting messages that I can't respond to at the moment, so I'm not going to. Okay, so anyway, the key to most questions you'll ever ask or be asked about reconnective healing and the reconnective healing experience and more is found in a level of insight that allows for a level of simplicity. Okay? Often when we're considering receiving a reconnective healing, especially if we haven't received one before, many questions come to mind. They just do. And you know, as well, when we're facilitating reconnective healing experiences, potential guests receiving the experience have a lot of questions. And we have a tendency with our logical, linear thinking mind to try to answer the question according to the words that are being asked. In other words, we attempt to answer the question verbatim to the words instead of actually hearing the question. It's a tricky kind of a concept because there's so much simplicity in this, and the challenge to doing this properly or to be doing this insightfully is remaining in the simplicity with our answers, with our responses. So this often leads us, these complicated questions, to wanting to answer in detail. And we've been trained to believe that the greater the detail, the greater the answer, the more we know, the more complicated we answer, the more complexity. We just go on and on and on and on and on. So we go on asking question after question because complicated, detail-filled answers lead to more questions. Look for two things. Look for simplicity and look for love. When I say look for love, look to see if the answers of the questions themselves are love-based or fear-based. So I want to share a little excerpt from Solomon, okay? And we're also going to share a little excerpt from our upcoming book with some of these concepts. But right now, I want you to understand, as Solomon says, the answers you're looking for, you already have. And Solomon likes to share with us how we can find those answers. Solomon will say, only feel your heart, for it will lead you to the areas where you need to be. You are here now to understand a new type of energy to come, and it's going to carry you through a great period of energy significance. But we'll return to that a little later. Think of some of the questions that we want to ask. Think of some of the questions that as practitioners we've been asked. So whether we are the explorer / participant, we get kinds of questions. If we are the recipient / guest, we ask and receive different kinds of questions. such as, can pregnant women receive reconnective healing? They never ask about pregnant men, but that's a different issue. They say, can animals receive reconnective healing? How old should someone be before they receive reconnective healing? Let's look at each question. Is the question, can pregnant women receive reconnective healing, coming from love or fear? On the surface, we could say love. We would love to share reconnective healing with a pregnant woman. But then why do we ask permission? For fear that maybe it's not appropriate. Maybe we've heard the responses might be so dramatic, or it might affect something that it might not be good for the pregnancy. Maybe we've heard, well, the child might receive a reconnective healing, but maybe they're not at a cognitive age enough to agree to it. We have lots of fear-based answers. I'm going to challenge us to say that if we find fear in the question, most likely the question's not holding a lot of validity. Of course, a pregnant woman can receive reconnective healing. There should be no fear and no asking in that. Can animals receive it? What's the fear about whether animals can receive it? Life is life, love is love, and animals are people in fur suits who eat out of bowls very often. How old should someone be before they can receive reconnective healing? Well, I often say that they should be 2 years, 4 months, and 3.5 days. And generally, by the time I get to the end of that measurement, the person realizes that there's no real validity or need to ask that question. They're just in fear of what if it's 2 years, 3 months, and 2.5 days. It's an offering of love. It's an offering of healing. So I want to challenge some of you to look at the questions that come up. And I am going to be reading in this chat line a little bit. And ask a question if you'd like. Type it in. And let's discuss whether or not it's based in love or based in fear. But what I'd like you to do when you have your question is I want you to offer me your answer. And you're saying to yourself, well, it's my question, so I don't know the answer. You don't get out of it quite that easily. I want you to ask your question and then say, if I did know the answer, what might it be? And I'd like you to share that. So we are going to do today a little bit differently. We're going to play with the hand raising aspect a little bit for some of these questions. I'm going to read you a few examples. Cecilia offered me a couple of questions that come into her. How do I soften the frequency for children? Why do you want to soften the frequency for children? You want to soften something for children? Put fabric softener in their diapers and quit putting all those little disposable things around them that make them walk like they've got a wad up their butt. I'm reading some of these questions, obviously. I'm not having the experiences I'm hearing other people describe. Is it possible that some people can't do this? Multiple layers of fear. So the answer is no. Is it possible that you can't receive it? No. Is it possible your facilitator can't facilitate it? No. Is it possible we're not allowing ourselves to be an open, receptive love? Maybe yes. Sandy Krieger wrote in, can you do reconnective healing on someone who has been drinking alcohol or on drugs? Sandy, if you knew the answer to that, type in what it might be. Okay, I'll come back to that as soon as I see your answer. You don't get to ask a question without sharing an answer. I see you laughing because you know better, so I'm waiting. Okay. The answer is yes. Of course it's yes. Is it optimal? Maybe not. If they want to have the full experience of it, I think it's probably a good idea that they didn't just chug 7 Long Island iced teas. Possibly, probably. Also, it would be good for your healing room that what they did chug doesn't come back up during the session. Outside of that, if you're out somewhere in public Someone's had a few drinks, situation comes up, and a healing might be called for at that time. What are you going to say? So, sorry, go home, sleep it off, get back to you later. No, you're going to facilitate it as you facilitate it. So, can you? Yes. Optimal? No. Same thing for drugs. Can you? Yes. Optimal? No. What if someone's calling is to release themselves from addiction, but they can't stay off of drugs long enough to come in to receive the healing? Do you send them away? No. Work with them that way and see what comes about. And that's if they are looking for something specific. You have to bear in mind and share with them that that doesn't mean that this is what it's going to work on. But if you're coming for healing and you also happen to have a problem with drugs or alcohol, I would suggest that you not be on them, but I'm not going to turn you away. So hear the fear, find the love. You don't have to have heard the answer from me. You don't have to have read it in a book. You don't have to have heard it from Jillian. The answer you're looking for, you already have. How do you keep from taking something on? Am I going to take something on if I do reconnective healing and someone has a problem? Am I going to suddenly become addicted to that drug or that alcohol they're working on? Am I going to take on their Parkinson's? Of course not. But it's time that when we ask the question, before we ask it out loud, I'm going to suggest that if we go in the simplicity of, is it based in fear? Is it based in love? We're going to find that we know that answer. We talk about, how do I know the distance healing is going to the right person? Someone tell me, is that love or fear? Raise your hand in front of the camera if you think that question is love. How do I know it's going to the right person? Raise your hand. I'm looking at you all. George, you think that's a question of love? Unmute, tell me why. Unmute.
Figure that out.
Where do you find love of, how do I know the reconnective healing distance session is going to the right person?
It's the intent is that it's going to the right person, it goes to the right person.
Okay, well, even leaving intent behind, if we are in our knowingness that it's going to the right person, would we ask that question? If we're in love, in a space of love with a reconnective healing distance session, would we question whether it's going to the right person?
Well, no, because the question is in fear that it's not
That's
going.
what I'm saying. The question is, what if it's going to the wrong person? Went 3 people too far. They're not going to get their healing. Wrong person's going to get the healing. Could be healing it's intended for someone else, but it might mess up this person's life. Hear the fear. And I want us to release and say, there's fear in that question. Is it really possible that reconnective healing could go to the wrong person? Are we really so powerful that we can confuse this infinite intelligence? And so I'm asking these questions and I'm sharing them with you as an exercise in exploration of, where do we find the fear? Where do we find the love? Where should I start the healing session? The facilitators say, should I start at the head or should I start at the feet? And the fear really is, what if I start in the wrong place? And love knows there is no should. There is no should of a starting place. Should I push through a density if I feel it in the air? Should I push it through? Or should I wait till it dissolves? Should I nudge it a little bit and let go of it a little bit? The fear in there really should take the question away. The answer of do I do it this way, that way, or the other way is yes. Rigo says, how do I let go of the fear of expectation in the results of the session? So, expectation means, Rigo, turn on for a second, will you? Good. If you're saying, how do I let go of the fear of expectation? What I think you're asking is, how do I let go of the fear of what if they don't get the results I want them to? Is that what
Yes,
you're
yes.
asking me? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it is when the client
Got it.
receive the session, have and me and the client, because the client is me, have the expectation something appear during the session.
Rigo, you're being challenged. You're being challenged to become a teacher. You need to teach your clients or your guests, and you need to become your own student in the process. And the more we share and educate others, the more we learn about this. If your concern is on the result, do you feel good when they get the result that they're looking for? Rigo?
Okay, I don't understand the question.
Okay, do you feel good when the client gets the result that they're looking for? Do you feel good when you facilitate a self-healing, something for yourself, and you get the result that you're looking for? Do you feel as if you've done something right?
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
honestly, yes, for me.
Okay, so here's your answer then. What if they don't get it? Then you feel as if you've done something wrong. Am I
Okay,
right?
okay.
To tell me, am I correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if we feel as if we've done something right, when in our self-healing we get a result we're looking for, or in someone else's healing, they get the result that they're looking for, then that means on one level or another, we are taking or accepting credit.
Okay.
The cost of that is that we feel guilt-ridden and responsible as if we've done something wrong when they don't. So instead of worrying about are they getting the result they want, maybe the deeper question for us is there a level I'm taking credit for doing a good job related to the result that I receive or they receive? And how can I feel happy, but not be accepting credit for this? Because once I let go of accepting credit for it, then what happens is I have freed myself and I have freed them to allow this intelligence to bring the perfect results, the perfect orchestration, the perfect reconnective healing experience, including outcome, whatever that may be. The doing it right, it's the fear that becomes the problem. So when people say to you, should I push through the density or should I pause while it dissolves? The answer is yes. It's not really a question because it's based in fear. Is this feeling telling me I should move in this direction or that direction? The answer is yes. And it's also telling you you can hold still. The question doesn't exist related to reconnective healing because it's based in fear. Should I back off because the registers are too big? No. Why? Because it's based in fear. Our role is to hold a door open. Their role is to walk through that doorway. The answers we are looking for, we have inside. But just as we talked, Rigo, we have to go inside. Just as we talked with George, we have to go past the superficial and go inside to find that we know these answers. Some of the answers that are the easiest are the most challenging for us to be able to accept. This is a big situation. Cecilia receives a question, should I do reconnective healing first or the personal reconnection first? You have your option. One comes one way, one another way. Someone else wrote, I'm confused in chapter 2 because Eric says when the role of the healer is to open the door and the role of the guest is to, who came to have the healing, is to have the courage to walk through that door. But in previous chapters, he mentioned that the healing is not a matter of faith. This one talks about faith and belief. It doesn't. It talks about observation. The shoulds and the shouldn'ts are the fear-based. I want to see some of your questions in here. So I'm looking. Lisa writes, the question I get asked most by clients is, what is your success rate? The assumption there is whether you are successful. Their fears that they're going to someone who's not successful, and your fear in that question is, am I successful? Sometimes we have to be able to say, you know, the question doesn't really apply. Now, maybe the way to answer that is through a story. I share the story of how I used to answer that question because I also made the mistake and I linked up success rate. That means how many people get the results that they're looking for. That's what I thought. So I would tell people, oh, about 70%, until I eventually decided to step out of the judgment of what is successful and what isn't, as if I knew. And suddenly my fear of, would I be successful? Wouldn't I be? Am I successful? Am I not? Vanished. And in the vanishing of the fear of, am I or aren't I? Will I or won't I? Are they going to get? Are they not going to get? Fear is an absence of love. All that came about was love. And from that love, what comes about are optimal healings. It's the allowance of us to be who we are. Optimal experiences, not even results of healing, but reconnective healing experiences. So what happens here is question after question. Can you work on someone who's in a coma? Of course you can. They can't get up and tell you to leave. I mean, sometimes you need to answer a question with a funny answer for people to get it. We know. What is the fear in these questions? I want you to share with me. I want you to actually do some hand raising. Cecilia will call on a raised hand. And I want you to ask me a question that you get from people or that you have asked practitioners that you're not sure about their response or about your response or how to answer.
Mhm.
Who has an intriguing question?
I see one in the chat. I'd like to go to Astrid.
Please, go ahead.
Astrid says, what do you say to your clients after a reconnective healing session when they say, I didn't feel or recognize something? My answer, you don't have to. Would this be a good answer for a client? Probably no.
Probably
Astrid?
no. It's not a good answer.
That's what they're saying.
Tell me why, Astrid. Can you share?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Astrid, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Yes.
Good. So tell me about your question.
No, I thought probably no, it wouldn't be Yes. I would say that it doesn't matter if you recognize something or there's something going on, but probably I think for the client it wouldn't be the best answer, because after he came in with expectations, and probably he paid for the session. So it wouldn't be the smartest answer, I guess.
Tell me why. Is it the right answer? Is it the
No.
correct answer? Well, it is. It doesn't matter what they feel or what
Yes,
not they
because
would
it's the
like to
truth.
feel. So sometimes you need to reach in and go, hey there, family. Dr. Eric and Jillian here.
Welcome, everyone.
And we're very excited about Reconnective Life, our first online global community. This is the most exciting way we've been able to get together since I founded the Reconnection. It'll be a place where we can do things together. We'll move into breakout rooms at times when that's appropriate. We'll have energy interactions and meditations and exercises. In other words, expect things you haven't seen before.
You are so charged.
Things we
He is so lit about every new way we get to be together every day. Just be together. Let us just speak a little bit about what is going to be the shape of this community.
In this community, we can share and discover more. Here we can talk to each other, we can chat, we can learn from and about one another. Jillian, me, our life leaders, and you will be in daily conversation with you. Weekly, we will have Facebook Lives.
We will be with you every Wednesday. Sometimes it'll be just Eric. On occasion, it might just be me. Sometimes it'll be the two of us. It's all about giving you a way to look at the week living in the frequencies.
And in every fourth week, we will include a live Q&A so we can talk about the things that have been coming up for us, discuss back and forth, share, grow, expand together.
And the ever-growing library of content that has been created over 20 years that will be on demand for you. It will be on-demand content for you to view, enjoy, share again with your inner circle.
And monthly, we are going to have live Zoom retreats. We're going to bring in some exercises and experiences and things that previously we've reserved for our physical retreats, you know, when we were in the different location resorts and things. And we're modifying them so that we can work with these with you in your home, in your living room, in your den. Put into the chat line, what is facility? We're having these weekly Zoom in-depth Q&As.
Finally, they have a place and space to just define what does that really mean living in the frequencies.
This is something that is in all of us.
Everyone can do this.
It doesn't matter how many levels you've gone through or how well you know the programs. It's a community that allows us to recognize how interrelated we all are as receivers of energy, light, and information.
See you there.
Reconnective Life, living in the frequencies every day.